Hi folks, I just want to introduce you to a friend of mine, Alan, and the Lord's been working through his life in the most wonderful way in the last few years really. Alan got saved about 5 years ago, didn't you?
Yeah.
And his wife Karen, and then his son came through, and then his father came through, and he's had quite an incredible few years with the Lord. But recently he's actually had a vision during this time of isolation, and he's going to share that at the end.
I do.
Right. Okay.
Kids' Bible. And I used to read that. I think it was mainly for the pictures though. But I did enjoy the stories. The Walls of Jericho, particularly remember from when I was very young. But then as you get older, the world gets in the way. You go out playing with your mates, don't you? You want to play football all the time. And I kind of left, kind of forgot about it really. But I think it came back to me when I actually got married in this church here. And that's when Karen and I, when we met, she said she wanted to be married in a church, and I kind of felt the same. But we kind of started discussing God. Karen was probably closer to God than I was. She knew more about God than I did. I was a bit of an agnostic, well, I don't believe, but, he might be there, he might not, how people are. And I think when it really, really clicked, so we started discussing God with my mother-in-law, who's a godly woman, and asking a lot of questions, but still not coming away filled with that spirit, coming away thinking, yep, he definitely is there. It was still 50-50. And then I think it really hit me when I came to the church. I did some plastering, and the room, there was a table, and there was abundance of books around, but the one that was out on the table was the Bible that I used to read as a kid.
Yeah.
And it suddenly hit me like a ton of bricks that God was saying, remember me, you used to read about me.
Yeah.
And I couldn't get that out of my head. And the more I thought about it, the more I thought I need to find out. This is a message. I think this is God's telling me something. And then I'm thinking, hang on, I'm saying God's telling me something. I'm supposed to be agnostic. And then I'm suddenly realizing I'm almost talking to him there, and then thinking, wow. So it was then on I started to question more in-depth conversations with my mother-in-law and finding out about God. Well, not long after the Bible on the table event, I started to question God, and we started to come to church and listen to the word. And it was, I think, been coming around about a month, maybe month and a half, and the word was, I was coming away from church, and the word, what was being said, was going round in my head, and everything seemed to suddenly start to make sense. And I just thought, how can you deny this? And it just hit me that this guy, Jesus Christ, went through all this pain and suffering, an innocent man, and he did that for us. Why us? Why did he go through that much pain for us? We're nothing. And then I realised we're all sinners, and he went through that pain for us. It was the greatest act of love, and that just impacted me massively. That was it. I just thought, for that guy to do that for us.
Absolutely. And I
Huge.
remember you getting baptised along with your wife Karen.
Yeah.
The truth is, the Lord has been hugely moving through your family, hasn't he?
Massively, yeah.
And I mean, you don't mind me saying you are a genuinely nice guy. You're a very normal person in terms of you're an honest person.
Yeah.
You don't try and be something that you're not.
No.
You're not some religious maniac.
No.
You're a friendly guy, and I think people are massively attracted to you and your family because you're very normal with it, aren't you?
Yeah, we are normal, and I think we're as surprised as anybody how God has come through the family. I mean, for me and Karen got baptised. We couldn't deny it anyone. We've got to give ourselves to the Lord, and to give yourselves to the Lord properly is to go into that water, leave your old life behind and come out with a new life with Jesus Christ. And that was it. That was it. Then we said, we're going to follow Jesus from here on in. What was it, 12 months after that, our second eldest, Richard, got saved by the slug story, which is another story, but what a revelation that was. We used to talk to Richard about God, but he was very much like I was. Well, you know, he may do, he may not. He was dead against some of the things that God stood for, to be fair. He was a student, university. Buddhist. He went through all sorts of different, but then to have the revelation, God just spoke to him, and he just came in. His eyes were alight with the fire of the Spirit, and wow, I mean, he got saved, baptised, then Pipe. My dad got baptised, and Ben, one of the youngest, he's coming through.
He's having dreams and visions, isn't he?
Dreams, visions, and his prayer is incredible for a child of that age. I think
quite awesome, actually,
it is.
to hear him.
It's amazing, and God speaks to him, and he's working through the family, and it's amazing what he's doing, and you know, it shows that he can work through families.
You are a fun-loving, normal guy that loves the Lord, right? And you get on with. You're a very easy person to get on with. But you actually had a vision, didn't you? Not that long ago.
I did, yeah. Well, I was praying, and you know, as anybody would normally pray, eyes closed, and I saw this vision. It knocked me for six, to be fair. Absolutely knocked me for six. And I was standing in the vision. I was standing in my kitchen, and I all of a sudden, Jesus appeared in a bright light. It was quite. I think it was how we would imagine it. You know, in a bright light with white garments, awesome, majestic. You know, in majesty and powerful, and he just put his arm round my shoulder, and I just fell to my knees, and I just praised his name, and I wept. And after that, he disappeared, and I just leant back. I sat back against the kitchen wall and wept. And then I got up, and members of my family started to come through the kitchen door, and I had this massive sort of smile on my face. I remember this beam of happiness, but weeping at the same time. It was tears of happiness, and members of the family came through, saved and unsaved, and other people came through, and some close friends came through, and we all just stood in an embrace and weeping together. And the vision switched then, and we were walking up in some woods, and we crossed over, and there was probably 20 odd people, and we crossed over this bridge. It was a narrow bridge, and it was a rope bridge, but it wasn't high up, it was low down, and there was a stream running underneath it. And we crossed over this bridge, and we started to climb quite a steep hill, and you could see the cross on this steep hill as we came up the hill. And then we just knelt at the foot of the cross, and that was it. That was what I saw.
Pour out my spirit upon all flesh, and it says that your old men will dream dreams, and there'll be visions. God will pour out his spirit upon people, young and old alike. I believe these are the last days, and the Lord is beginning to speak in visions. Now the thing is, we're quite happy about those visions if they're in Iran or they're in Iraq or they're in China. But you know, God has just the same passion to see people saved here in the West, even in Great Britain, as he does in these persecuted nations. And it may well be that off the back of this pandemic, the Lord has got something very special lined up. And I believe there's a message in this for us all. I believe that the vision that God gave to Alan is something that he wants to tell us all. It's what he said to Joshua, "As for me and my house, we will serve the Lord." Our God wants to move through families, and this is the time. There'll never be a time like this where families have come together again for the first time maybe in years and years and years. Let's use this time wisely. Remember, in the book of Revelation chapter 3, what did Jesus say to the church of Philadelphia? "Behold, I set before you an open door that no man can shut."